Now in West Africa, Niger's military regime, which took power in July, has accused France of deploying forces in several West African countries with the intent to stage a military intervention. Relations with France, Niger's former colonial power, degraded swiftly after Paris stood by ousted President Bazoum following the July coup. The state is also embroiled in a standoff with the West African bloc, ECOWAS, which has threatened to intervene militarily if diplomatic pressure to return Bazoum to office fails. On August 3, Niger's coup leaders renounced several military cooperation agreements with France, which has about 1,500 soldiers stationed in the country as part of a wider fight against jihadis.
Il y a lieu de porter à la connaissance de l'opinion publique nationale et internationale quand depuis de l'annonce de ce plan de retrait, la France continue de déployer ses forces dans plusieurs pays de la CEDEAO, dans le cadre des préparatifs d'une agression contre le Niger qu'elle envisage en collaboration avec cette organisation communautaire.
Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron has said any redeployment of French forces in Niger Republic will be decided only if requested by President Mohamed Bazoum. Bazoum was overthrown by a coup d'etat in July, but is still considered by France to be the legitimate head of state. Niger's coup leaders have accused France of gathering forces, war materials and equipment in several neighboring West African countries with a view to having a military intervention in the country. On August 3, Niger's coup leaders announced several military cooperation agreements with France, which has about 1,500 soldiers in the country as part of a wider fight against insurgency. And now, joining us on the news to discuss this is Ambrosse Igboke, an international affairs analyst who is going to be talking to me and to also give proper insight into the latest developments. It's nice to have you join us on the news.
Thank you very much. Good evening, and thanks for having me.
So what does the French president's, that's Emmanuel Macron's adamant stand on French troops, what does it mean when you talk about the French troops' continued presence in the Niger Republic, and what does it portend despite demands by the junta to leave?
In fact, I won't say I have an answer to your question because I don't know what Emmanuel Macron means by that. It is a very tricky issue and it's very delicate. What he is saying actually is this, that the military junta in Niger and the military head now that's saying that he has taken over the mantle of leadership in Niger is a usurper of a democratic authority, that he is not elected and he is not recognized by France as the head of the government in Niger. And we all know the role of France in Niger and all the Francophone countries. France has a very tight grip on it. This also has some far-reaching consequences in how coup plotters should be treated or would be treated in the nearest future. Because what has been happening in Africa is that over the years, coup plotters who overthrew legitimate government have been accepted to sit in the Committee of Nations, have been accepted into the Organization of African Unity those days, which is now EU, African Union, have been accepted into ECOWAS. Some of them were even attending the United Nations General Assembly meetings and the rest. So coup plotting was accepted in the world then. But it seems that what France is trying to do, being a permanent member of the Security Council of the United Nations and being one of the real influencers in Africa, is trying to say that if you do a coup against a civilian government that is legitimate, that came through elections, then you will not be recognized by France. And this has a wider implication. The implication is that there are up to 15 Francophone countries in Africa, and this is huge. So France not accepting the legitimacy, or otherwise the government of the military in Niger portends a very grave concern for all of us. So what will France do? If the coup plotters say they are not going to release the ousted president, what will France do? Will France go to war? The spokesperson of the military is already alleging that France is amassing military armada around some African, West African countries like Benin Republic and Cote d'Ivoire. He's saying that France is already bringing military arsenal. So does France want to wage war? That should not be encouraged at all. I think all the diplomatic measures should be taken so that there will not be bloodshed for the people of Niger. They have already suffered enough, and I think what can happen is to have more economic blockades and ensure that the military does a quick transition program that will not last more than 12 months.
Well, clearly the junta has handled what some may call provocation by the French government in a peaceful manner. So do you think that latest comments coming from President Macron will further escalate the tension?
Yeah, there have been, buck passing and tit-for-tat approaches between Emmanuel Macron and the leader of the junta. Remember 2 weeks ago, the military hegemony there told the French president, the French consulate ambassador to leave Niger. And the president of France gave a counter directive, told the ambassador to remain there. I mean, this is a very tricky issue because it does not normally happen. I mean, it has not happened for a very long time in a diplomatic circle where a country expects a diplomat, and the parent country of the diplomat told the diplomat to stay put. It has not happened for a very long time, and I can't remember in diplomatic circle when that happened last. So the question is, who confers legitimacy on the leadership of a country? That is a wide question that we should be answering in the next coming days and weeks. Who confers legitimacy? Is it the people? Is it through electoral process? Is it through regional bodies? Or is it through continental bodies like the United Nations? Or do presidents cherry pick who to recognize and who not to recognize, like Emmanuel Macron is doing? So it is a very complicated issue right now. And we hope that it doesn't lead to escalation of into war.
Now, several rallies have been held in recent weeks in solidarity of the junta, calling for the exit of French troops in the country, while other peaceful tactics have been deployed with no result. How else do you think this matter can be handled without a confrontation?
Firstly, I think the military junta should be clear about what they want to do. For now, they are still talking to blowing hot air and all those kind of antics will not help anybody. They are said they came to liberate the people. It is a lie. They didn't come to liberate anybody. They came to entrench themselves in power. This song they used to sing over 50 years ago, to that each time they took good, it came to liberate the people. They are not there to liberate anybody. They are also there to grab power. And from our experience in the past, military coups in Africa, once they grab power, they perpetuate themselves, they transform to military, to civilian presidents, and want to be life presidents. So we are not being, a lot of us who are students of history are not being fooled. So what they can do to make sure that they douse this tension is to give a clear timetable and say, look, we will hand over between now and then try to reach out to regional blocs like ECOWAS, the continental bloc like the AU, and then try to make a case with have meetings with France. Because whether we like it or not, I'm a pragmatist. We cannot wish away the grip of France in Niger and other francophone countries. They have a very strong grip in that country, and we cannot wish that away. So you can't wish it away by protest. You can't wish it away by giving tough statements or press releases. We can see that already happening, that you say you are a president of a country or you are the commander-in-chief of a country, you gave an instruction that a diplomat should leave. Normally, under few hours after such directives have been given, the diplomat hurries out of the country. But you can see the situation where a sitting president or whatever he's called gave an instruction that a president should, and a diplomat should leave. And there was a counter instruction from France saying that stay put. And nothing has happened to the diplomat. Nothing has happened. So, because if anything happens to the French consulate or the French embassy in Niamey, that will be a declaration of war on France. And the military junta know that they want to do that. So, the only solution from now is diplomacy to see how France and the junta can come to the table, discuss the way forward. But blowing air and talking tough from both sides is just going to escalate the matter.
So let's look at the issue of the deposed president, that is the Nigerian leader, Mohamed Bazoum, who has been in detention at the presidential palace since the coup. So what happens if he is coerced to ask the French troops to leave? Is that even possible?
Well, I've always advocated for, first of all, that AU, ECOWAS, even France and other countries that are being involved in what is happening in Niger should firstly ask the junta to release Bazoum, because that is the most important thing. Because we cannot all be talking tough, making incendiary statements, talking about options of force and all those things, and the junta still has the former president detained. That's a big problem. So whoever wants democracy to come back in Niger or wants the former president to be reinstated should firstly ensure that the former president is released, maybe on an asylum, to maybe ECOWAS countries like Nigeria or Benin or Cote d'Ivoire, so that he can be safe. And then negotiations can start on how to reinstate him or what else to do with democracy in Niger. But having him still detained by the military and making all these efforts and all the chattering bosses we are hearing up and down, it's not going to solve the problem. The question is that he's not safe with the junta, and if anything happens to him, then the pushing for France to make him to reinstate him will be futility. So all sides must tread with caution to ensure that even the former president who was ousted is released and be safe and sound with his family before further action can be taken in terms of reinstating or seeing a good timetable that will restore democracy in Niger.
All right, thank you so much for talking to us. Really appreciate your contribution.
Thank you very much for having me.